This is a poster or a little sticker that was found by someone on I guess like a lamppost, which says, "Don't compete. Competition is always injurious to the species, and you have plenty of resources to avoid it." Clearly a philosopher who didn't have to compete his ideas against competing philosophers, because that's terrible. This is from
he was born into wealth.
Kropotkin, whose name I have heard, but this is from the Anarchist network. So chat, this is not anarcho-capitalist, I don't think. This is more on the sort of like left anarchist side of things, I expect. But it's surprising to me that anyone, even a communist, could say that competition is always a bad idea. It's so ridiculous.
What would you expect people to do? Is my contention always with far lefties, and I'm friends with some communists, right, who are legitimately like reasonable people, and they aren't able to answer this question. What do you want us to do? We're just not supposed to compete at all. We're just supposed to like sit around like ants or something. And we're not ants. We're more evolved than that. Sorry, homie. Like I don't know.
Evolution
I'm trying to like
is
misrepresent my commie friends.
Evolution itself is fundamentally based on competition, but I think as you're getting at, like, competition doesn't even have to be direct. It's just two people trying to do something useful at the same time, and competing for a limited pool of whatever resources you can imagine. It's very basic.
Sure. Yeah.
And so in order to avoid it, as I think you're exactly saying, Aiden, you would have to just not do things, or monopoly.
That is the contention.
You know how leftists love monopolies, right? They can't get enough of them. Whenever they see it in the market, whenever they see a private company that's a monopoly, they think that's healthy. I love that. That's my vision. No, they hate them. But then again, so do most libertarians, which is understandable. They're not good. Monopolies are almost always a bad thing
because they want to be in charge of it.
That's the only thing that your average left anarchist would say that makes sense here. But funny, like when they don't compete,
he just wants
they
to be
cause
in charge
problems.
Of it.
That's the whole point.
Yeah.
But yes, the reason why they think that is also true. That part of it is they just want to be in control of it.
They want to be in charge of it, and they can't. They look at themselves and they go, I'm a big loser. Why am I such an enormous loser? Must be the state. Must be the state is the reason why I'm such an enormous loser. Even if you're someone like Hassan Piker, who is born into privilege, you're born into like, every aspect, every measurable aspect of privilege. But I still don't think I have enough privilege. Therefore, I must be a socialist. However, I think that for the probably like average 25-year-old, this probably does speak to them because they think, well, I'm not making enough money as I should be making, which probably is. I understand why they would feel that way. I'm not.
Well, yeah,
I am not without empathy towards their plight. You know, but
we have a situation there. Yeah, we have a situation there with capitalism where people blame capitalism for the problems of corruption, and exactly where distortions of the market from the state, for example, exactly where that corruption reduces the principles, the basics of capitalism, how it's supposed to work, exactly in those places is where you get problems. Exactly in those places, and exactly to the extent that you have corruption of its basic principles.
Yes.
Just like with democracy.
Yes.
So it's a shame that socialists can't understand that about capitalism, and that certain others can't understand that about democracy. But never mind that.
Well, it's kind of curious, though, that I think that one thing I'd say about our broader speaking kind of part of the internet is that we're able to critique democracy. We're able to critique capitalism without just being like, it's bad and therefore it should be destroyed. That's you have to have that kind of stuff where it's just like you can critique things without just saying it should be destroyed. I would say that's my opinion on it. I'm so irritated by that, but go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, but this is, I just wanted to show you how stupid this is, chat. As I said, I wouldn't have guessed that anyone would say that competition is always injurious. Frankly, I would be surprised if there's any more than a tiny portion who would say that competition is usually injurious or generally injurious. It's ridiculous. But yeah,
You've
and the
never
idea
seen
of
this before?
no, The idea of you have plenty of resources to avoid it as well. Like, that comes from a position of someone who has plenty of resources. As Ravelon says, Kropotkin is a Russian anarchist. He was your typical overly educated. He sounds like it.
They have been pushing especially to, well, it'll be obvious, they've been pushing the whole girls compete, women empower each other thing, especially in, like, education for several years now. I know I came up seeing a lot of that, but there's a lot of, don't compare yourself to other people, don't compete with other people, everyone's on their own path. The anti-competition message does not shock me.
Motch, if you don't know, it actually comes completely out of, sorry, I'm trying to eat a cracker. It comes completely out of Trofim Lysenko. Trofim Lysenko said that pea plants of the same type would never compete with each other. This is his evolutionary theory.
The example of Lysenkoism. It's such a good example.
But this is where it comes from. The idea of all of communistic theory comes out of this idea from this lunatic called Trofim Lysenko. And he said, like, pea plants of the same type would never compete with one another. Guess what pea plants do? Can compete with one another. He's completely incorrect. It's one of the reasons that Major League caused a whole bunch of the famines in the communist regimes. So they just thought, like, oh, we'll just plant, because throughout all of human history, we learned, like, we can't plant these plant seeds too close to each other because otherwise they'll sap up each other's water and resources. And Trofim Lysenko said, no, they're plants of the same type. They're proletariat plants. They won't take each other's resources. This is the dumbest shit.
It is the dumbest shit, yeah. It's
my
favorite example.
Can you imagine this shit?
Yeah, it's my favorite example of someone using the processes of reason very badly to come to a devastating conclusion. And the famines of that were huge.
Millions of people, by the way. Yeah. That insane hypothesis, not based on reality, but based on communist theory, killed millions of people via starvation. Because plants of the same type would not compete with each other. It's the craziest shit. That's why I won't listen to commies ever. And then when I have never met another commie besides my one friend, Commie Mark, who even knows who Trofim Lysenko is, has everyone heard that name. It's insane. But like, oh no, we'll never compete with each other. You're out of your mind. Insane, dude.
Basically, communism is the denial of all the tools that humans use to deal with how harsh the universe is. Not the harshness. It is a denial of the harshness, but it's a rejection specifically of the tools we use to deal with the harshness. On the basis, the faith belief that those tools are the problem. It is exactly as as that makes it sound. And then with no abstraction. It is essentially the rejection of counting value on the basis that counting it is the problem. That's how stupid communism is. And from that basis, hundreds of millions die. But yeah, there you go. This poster is not explicitly communist.
No, that's where we have to actually
I think that's probably what they're getting at, what they're driving at.
About it.
Anarcho-syndicalist, perhaps, but it's the same idea.
Yeah.